I have absolutely no idea. I have said it before. They put on the box Liena Who Dreams. That's officially the legacy name. But everybody during playtest and everyone for all the eternity will call this seeker Liena and not Karma Moth or whatever the name they want for the seeker card. We have the same paper things, right? We have a beautiful poster for Liena, and on the back for Karma Moth, a little bit of the rating and information about the seeker, and small pieces of lore for you guys to follow. We have the game overview explaining how to play it, and the cards itself. Liena has mostly red die because it's mostly primal than conclave, but also has a small tint in blue here, as you can see. A little bit faded, but very cool die as well. And the cards. Like I said, the Seeker card has Karma Moth named to it, but we all know and will call it Liena, no matter what. I like it. It's very squishy, 14 health, 12 armor, even though it has shielded, which reduces the damage by 2 while it's refreshed. It can die very fast if you don't protect it well, right? But Mystic Reverberation is one of the strongest abilities we have in the game. And the Legacy, which is Liena, that gives basically Spell Strike 1 to all your units, or increases to 1. That's very important, because units that already have Spell Strike becomes very strong under her watch. And she also has a mechanic that allows you to play a second channel if you kill a unit, paying 2 fewer echo, which honestly it's amazing as well. Gives her a little bit of the conclave part of her identity, and usually 2 fewer echo makes a huge difference. She comes with the Noxious Flash Gardens because there is no seeker better than her to move units around, because you mix right primal with lots of knockback, with conclave, with telekinesis and stuff like that. So Noxious can be a strong call, but most people use the Starcast Hall because you have several channels to give extra attack to multiple units, so it's usually a better idea. I'll go ahead and take the relic decks away because we don't need them, right? And the card with my STL cards. Let's reveal only the useful cards for the collection, right? We have here the Paxus Gorehorn, very low echo, very strong status because you must activate it before any other unit that doesn't have Frenzy, and if it's able, you must charge with it. It's better for Thundersteps than for Liena, but also useful unit. 8 movement is quite strong, and it's not always that's a bad idea to activate it first. Woolcaster Shaman, I really like him. I believe Ingor will take more advantage because it has a kind of spell power, because it enhances this damage of spells by 1, and if it's half its HP or less, it gives 1 extra damage to the spells. And it has a whole decent status for 6 echo, so it has range, it has a good damage output, it moves a lot, it has 14 health, which is not that little. Although it has only 11 defense, it's seldom seen on the front lines. So I really like this unit. I believe it's going to see a lot of games, especially with Ingor. Sectacar, I believe that's not, it was not showcased as well on the spoilers. I don't remember if I spoke about it, but my favorite ranged unit. 8 range is a lot, 16 health is a lot, 5 damage is very good, especially for ranged units with 3 accuracy, and it does area damage with each AP. Beware that the ranged or the splash damage only applies on the original target. So for example, if you have this relic over here, the Lightning Scepter, you will make ranged attacks against every single unit on the path, but only on the last one that's going to really explode things, okay? It does not do the bombardment extra damage to every single attack throughout the path. Still, like it very much because allows you to combine the extra action, for example, for Adrenaline Rush. You can make this one AP action, so you can really explode things on a single activation. And with Liena's Legacy, allows you to cast another channel if you manage to kill something. Okay, only once per turn, but still, imagine this guy with Spell Strike doing extra area damage. That's huge, right? But be careful, the area damage is against every other unit, it's not against every other enemy unit, so you can have some collateral damage over there as well. Arcane Sentinel allows you to play tower defense in Malediction. It's a construct sentry that has no movement just like the primal totems, but has Overwatch, which allows you to exhaust this unit to do one attack with 2 extra damage. Can make a difference, but usually you just stay put and make 2 attacks against whatever is in sight, because it has been points, so it helps a little. 0 movement makes it very hard to make a good placement for it, but if you manage to place it well, and for example using the shamans, which is my favorite version, you can keep battle crying the sentries to make extra attacks on 10 range, which is huge, with good damage output for only 4 echo. I like this unit, but it's for a very specific deck, usually used with Nariev, because it has this swap spellbound ability, so you can position him and reposition the sentries for better placement. This unit by itself is the first unique that costs less than 8, it costs 7. I don't like its status very much. Swap Spellbound right now is only used with the Sentry, Gargoyle, Barrigudin and the Spellbound Devourer, which is the only relevant one of all of the Spellbounds, because you can reposition the Spellbound so it can be in melee range or something like that. And Cow Spellbound for the same unit, but for a single unit I don't think it's very worth it. 10 range is nice, but its damage is so little. Even with Spell Strike, I believe to be a very situational, unique card. I don't usually place him on my decks, but I can very well be wrong, and actually on the right decks with all the Spellbound units, it can be very cool to use it. The Researcher, on the other hand, it's an elite unit that can exhaust another elite unit from your opponent, so I use it on my Polynor deck from now on because it helps me to stay alive. Although Overwhelm costs 2 AP, it's quite easy to reposition him with spells, so I can use it very often. 4 range is very little, that's true, but we can enhance it with items or relics to take more advantage. It's a fair unit because the status is not very high, but the ability is very strong, in my opinion. So I believe it's going to see lots of game. Uncaged Experiment, I love this little fellow. It's also a spellbound beast. It's going to be relevant in the future collections. It has very little of everything, but single-minded allows you to make either 3 movement or 3 attacks during its activation. Regard that, if you move with this unit or use single-minded for it, even if you cast Adrenaline Rush or something like that, you cannot make an attack. You either move or attack with this guy, no matter the source of the action. So you have to think real hard before doing anything to, for example, move him on other units' turn or something like that to take more advantage. But if you, for example, give range to him through any relics, because it doesn't have clumsy, you can have a very decent unit scattering damage around. It's very cool to play with it, and I'm sure it's going to see a lot of game. Trial of Stone is the new Thunderstep's favorite spell. It gives you an extra attack, and if you do more damage than your opponent, you can draw a card. And note that dead people, as much as Morda doesn't like that sentence, dead enemies do not strike you back. So you make the first attack, if you kill the opponent, it won't strike you back, and you will draw a card anyway. So it's a draw mechanic for Primal Blood, extra attack for only 2 echo, very strong, awesome spell. Choice of Brutality, well, you rely a little bit on luck, because you don't always know what's on your top deck, but Ingor has a very good way to manage the top deck, so it's more useful for him, and you guarantee to do some damage and have a backup spell for future activations. I like this one because it can possibly do, for example, 9 damage for 3 echo if you have a unique unit on the top deck, and it's a very cheap damage dealing spell and also helps you cycle your hand. You use one card that will do some damage and allows you to draw another card. Very cool mechanic, very primal blood, I love it. The 2 conclave spells, you have seen me before talking about them on the spoilers. So Mind Harvest is not my favorite spell, allows you to see opponent's hand, make it deploy a unit for free and you gain that much echo. It's very useful if you need to win the initiative for the future round or something like that. Otherwise, just check your opponent's hand. It's not always going to help you deal with the battlefield. But otherwise, can be, if you use it smart, can be very strong. Grip Imputation, on the other hand, it's strong all the way. Allows you to search a deck for 2 different elite or basic cards. So you can take 1 basic and 1 elite, and you are going to play one for free and the other one goes to your hand for future activation. So basically the same as Echo of Sartan, you search for whatever you need at that specific moment, play it, and you have a backup spell for future activations. If you are playing Polynor, you can play the second one from your hand as well. I believe this is going to be on every single conclave deck that relies on multiple channel, especially on Polynor and Liena, actually, because you have more spells that you want to have on your hand and you have more responses to your enemy's abilities. So you can, for example, search for Die Hard to prevent something from dying with Liena, or a damage dealing spell, whatever. It's a very strong channel, and for 5 echo, unique one, it's a very balanced one as well. It's going to see lots of game for sure. In the specific cards, Arcane Mirroring, it's awesome. 3 units as a swift action, you can copy 1 AP abilities. So you don't only make basic actions. It doesn't have to be just move or attack. You can copy the specific ability that your opponent is using. Like we said for the bombardment ability from Sektakar, you can copy that and make your own bombardment using your unit's range. Very useful depending on the deck you are playing against, and it's basically a free action spell. Trample Through is better than the Astral Stride, although it costs more because it makes a shift, so you have to have line of sight, but it deals 3 damage to each unit you pass over with. You can use it with a unit that has Empowered Spell, so it becomes 4 damage, and then make your attacks with Spell Strike because you are playing Liena. So a single spell, if you are using a unit with spell power, is going to give you 6 damage. 4 of this spell and 2 for the 2 attacks you are going to make against your opponent for 3 damage, and with a plus you can reposition yourself. Very strong. I always use both copies on every single deck, and if you happen to have Liena around, you can make this with 2 units, scaling the damage very much. Lastly, the items. God Drinker's Axe. You take damage when you attack, but you have Berserk with plus 2 damage. I don't see much appeal to use it, to be honest. It only costs 1, so I will use with Auric, but the abilities themselves, well, I don't think they are too strong. Maybe I didn't try them very much, but for 1 echo to give Berserk can be useful, to be honest, but only on specific decks like Auric. And lastly, we have Sea of the Naxi that gives you everything you need to play Liena. Gives you spell focus that allows you to cast spells cheaper, and empower spells since you have a lot of damage dealing spells. I see this playing with Liena, I see this playing with Polynor, and I see decks that don't run any copies of this. It will really depends on the strategy where you are planning on make, but it's an item to consider and to test on multiple lists. Spell power, it's a very strong spell, underrated. We don't see many units with it, but spell focus, if played right, can change the tides of the game. So this was Liena. I hope you guys are as excited as I am to play both Liena and Griza. I know I had a lot of fun playtesting them, and I can't wait to see how the changes we imagine are going to impact the current meta and the current Seekers.